Hi, I'm Barry Huff. Welcome back to another podcast on the Lord's Prayer. If you could only use one name for God, what would it be? Since Jesus constantly talks about God's kingdom, I'd expect him to call God King. But instead, the name that Jesus likely called God in this prayer was Abba. Abba is the Aramaic word used by children in Jesus' day to address their dad. While it was common for those in Jesus' original audience to address their dad as Abba, it was definitely not common to address God as Abba. In fact, Paul was so impressed by Jesus' understanding of God as Abba that he used this Aramaic word twice in his Greek letters. By using the word Abba, the Lord's Prayer encourages us to be childlike, which according to Jesus is key to entering God's kingdom. Jesus' example of praying to Abba, to Dad, shows that prayer is not a desperate plea to some distant deity, but instead it's a conversation with our loving parent. It also shows that prayer doesn't have to be formal. We can actually be uncensored with our language when we talk with God, because God is present during the everyday moments of our lives. Jesus' words, our Abba, show that we all can have a close relationship with God. It also means that we're actually all brothers and sisters, because we're all the children of God. Think about how extraordinary that actually is. The message of these two words alone is the one thing powerful enough to not only break up cliques at school, but also stop the genocide in Darfur and bring lasting peace to the Middle East. In an interview with the Christian Science Sentinel on the day after the September 11 attacks, Chris Meyer, an actor, shared that he had stepped out of the World Trade Center subway station just moments after the second tower had been hit. He said, "I kept repeating the first line of the Lord's Prayer, 'Our Father, which art in heaven.' It doesn't say good people's Father or victims' Father. It says our Father. God is everyone's Father." That is so powerful. What a difference it would make when we have an argument with someone, or even when we're just passing someone in the street, to think, hey, that's actually my brother. Or that's my sister. Our Father shouts out that we are all included in God's family. Our Father, Mother is the God of everyone in all nations. This is actually the only time that Jesus says our Father when referring to God. He usually said my Father or your Father. This shows how important it was to Jesus that prayer be an action of unselfishness. Oliver Wendell Holmes said, "My religion is summed up in the first two words of the Lord's Prayer." The first words of this prayer insist that our prayer embraces all humanity. If you take a peek at the Lord's Prayer and count how many times the words I or my appear, you won't even find them once. So prayer is meant to be unselfish. That's why the silent prayer and then the praying out loud of the Lord's Prayer in Christian Science church services are prayers for the entire congregation. Not my Father, but our Father. Jesus' prayer begins with God, showing that prayer should be God-centered instead of self-centered. Like the Ten Commandments, the Lord's Prayer starts with God. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, and then moves to humankind's needs, such as daily bread. The prayer's conclusion, thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever, brings it back full circle to where it started, with God. A list of the sources I used when preparing these podcasts can be found on tmcyouth.com.
This podcast is produced and copyrighted by the First Church of Christ Scientists in Boston.